What's going on? We are here, and what a
Why are you bringing me in here
disappointing.
at this time of night, Caesar, to talk Cowboys football? What the heck's going on here?
I can't sleep, Kirby. I cannot sleep, man. It's
Heartburn?
heartburn, indigestion, not
Upset
diarrhea.
stomach? Diarrhea?
Oh my God! And the drought continues. 30 years and more. I just don't. Jaden Daniels is for real. Could he be the next Patrick Mahomes? Sure seems like it, right?
Yeah. It looked the draft, as we said off air, the draft really looks easy when you see it play out over even now one NFL football season. Not to mention the coaches that are on both NFC East staffs that, as of this recording, as this live stream, I should call it, are both currently still in the playoff mix, and one will be in it next week.
I know it's crazy, and to think that the Lions. I mean, I really thought that they had a chance to actually go to the Super Bowl to even be in the Super Bowl. I would have loved to see the Lions and Patrick Mahomes because it could be even Baltimore
I
too.
You could be Baltimore. I even heard people say it's Lions and the Bills.
That would have been a
Two
very
bad sack franchises, tough luck franchises, and one has to win.
so
That ain't gonna
at
happen.
least s- man. I don't know if you listened to the Dan Campbell interview, but he just his emotions, the way he was. Um, you feel for that guy. That guy literally puts his heart and soul into the team, and that's the kind of coach you want to win. You want to see win, and something that Dallas hasn't had since Jimmy Johnson, and which brings out our question is, you know, the Cowboys NFC drought continues, the championship drought continues. What do you do for the coaching staff? Is it where it doesn't matter who's a coach as long as Jerry's there, nothing's going to change? Or what do you think, Cody or Kirby?
Yeah, that's kind of what's been drilled into my head from the Cowboys haters over the last 3 seasons, 5 seasons. Geez, I can go back maybe 8 years. The whole Jerry Jones dilemma, but it has kind of hit all Cowboys Nation. Probably even from like the last playoff loss, maybe a couple of the San Francisco ones. Things are
Hmm.
never going to change until Jerry's out of that building, but then the Jones family is still in charge. So what's really going to change there? Um, People are saying the Deion Sanders thing that we talked about the other night there, as I see on the screen here as you're sharing here, the Aaron Glenn thing. I've reading up on Aaron Glenn a little bit more. I think I really like his quotes this week from the last time that we talked here, Caesar, of how he's like, I'm not just a defensive coach, I'm offensive coach mind. And kind of like I'm a head coach and be like a leader of men. I'm going to do everything that involves being a head coach. And that's what the Cowboys need: culture change, a guy to take over the helm, to lead players that are really good talent. We see that with our Florida Panthers. We have a lot of Panther fans that are Cowboys fans. Cowboys Nation, there's good talent there. Florida
There
Panthers,
is.
there was good talent there before we won the Stanley Cup. So you just need to get the right man in place with with the Panthers. It was the GM and the head coach. The Cowboys, is it that hard to get a head coach? And see, like, look at what Dan Quinn's doing. Some of these offensive coordinators are doing.
Who we
With
had in house. We had in house. We had him in our hands. To think this is what's so frustrating. And don't get me wrong, Mike McCarthy did a good job for the Cowboys, but I don't think he was a good enough coach to get us over the top. And I said it
situational
last
stuff,
year,
right?
situational stuff, um just the little things, the penalties drove me crazy the last 5 years. Dallas has been in the bottom of the league the last 5 years in penalties
Caesar
every
is like
single
with
year.
penalties. Caesar is like with penalties with the Cowboys, like how I've been on the latest post games here with the Panthers. That's how you are. Yep.
Yeah, it's just I just hate it, and I hated it, and I thought Jerry Jones should have fired McCarthy last year and hired Dan Quinn as our head coach. I thought Dan Quinn did an outstanding job, even though he didn't do a good job in the game against the Green Bay Packers, because still has that game in their mind. But I even told you and Nick, we didn't have linebackers. We were playing our safeties as linebackers, so there was no way this our defense could stop anything on the run. Aaron Jones was running all over us, and we had our defensive line was depleted. Um, and you saw it last year. Look at Dan Quinn this year. Bobby Wagner, a great defensive line, an average secondary, if that. How many turnovers did they have today, Kirby?
Washington, 0.
How many turnovers did they create, that defense?
Oh, 4 or 5, I think was the number.
5 turnovers. 5. I mean, it's it's such a big and it's so important to have the depth and the personnel. And get this stat. This is what I was listening to earlier, which blows my mind. 10 Cowboy members, 10, including coaching and players, are on the Washington Commanders side now. 10 of our players.
I heard a stat too. Tyler Biotish won a playoff game. Is that right? Before
Won two
all of these
playoff
other
games.
line,
2 playoff
two.
games
Oh, it was
now.
two, versus
Last week
all
and
those
this
other
week.
linemen that we had on the Cowboys that had been
Ah,
many years.
so it's crazy.
Yep.
Um,
But I wanted to add your into point there before you move on.
yeah,
The Detroit Lions are feeling what the Cowboys did last year and expecting to win in a home game, divisional game in this case with the Lions, and having their offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator thinking about leaving in these meetings. I'm
and I
telling
think
you, I talk about this all the time.
go ahead,
No,
bring it up,
I
Kirby.
want you to jump in,
Bring it
but
up, Kirby.
we saw
Bring it up.
bite us in the ass last year with Dan Quinn, and now you're seeing it with Aaron Glenn, and then of course everyone's flavor of the month right now, Ben Johnson. That he could go to the Cowboys, he could go to Jacksonville. Hey, maybe the Bears and Saints will have a sniff around with. Like, he's going to get looks at from every team. So again, maybe they're implementing some things into the NFL where there's this deadline right now in this freeze period, but still, like they've got to work on this because I don't see this, and we cover hockey content. I do it around the clock, 12 months a year. You don't see, Paul Maurice's assistant coach, Jamie Compa, is taking interviews with the Anaheim Ducks and Columbus Blue Jackets and Chicago Blackhawks this week as the Panthers get ready to play in the Eastern Conference Final. It just doesn't happen, right? A lot of that, and whether those things are happening, at least it's not in the media and in the fans' mind. And a lot of that external noise, it just doesn't do anything good. But the NFL is a machine and and how they want to market it. Like, that's what their insiders are talking about. That's probably what they would do in other leagues too, like the NHL or MLB, if that was the case. And I don't get it, Caesar. It's such a long off season.
It
Like, you
is,
can't wait.
but but I think the biggest issue is the Senior Bowl is in literally 2 weeks, so a lot of these teams need to hire their coaches before they go out to the Senior Bowl and get their play. So to
But
your
can't you
point,
change that headline or something, or miss one event? Like, it's
or
like in football, you can't
maybe
miss anything.
I know. So maybe postpone the Senior Bowl to maybe a week or 2 later on until after the season, you know, because it gives the players plenty of time to prepare for the draft. The draft isn't until April. You have February, March, and and so tomorrow's a national championship game.
Yep.
After tomorrow, all the players will be working to get prepared for the draft. Um, so to that point, a lot of these teams need to hire their coaches before um the Senior Bowl starts, before any of these players start doing the combine and things like that. So I think that's one of the issues that's preventing teams to wait till after the playoffs for them to interview the coaches. So it it's a big mess all the way around. I don't think, honestly, I don't think that's the reason why the Lions lost. It was interesting. I was reading. The Lions have 16 players on injured reserve,
Wow.
and most of those players were on defense. Aiden Hutchinson, one of the best defensive ends in the league, he was on injured reserve, broken leg. Um, and then, uh, one of the corners today, he he broke his arm. So it just goes to show you, they just didn't have the depth at the end of the day, and turnovers. I think if Jared Goff doesn't turn the ball over, Detroit wins that game easily.
Yep. Like
Five
they
turnovers. Five
can't get
turnovers.
things going when you turn it over, and we talk about that in the hockey world, especially when it comes to the Panthers. You're 5-on-5. You take those penalties, it just kills your whole momentum and everything like that. So
So I want you to watch this, and this is why I want Aaron Glenn, as he's my number one pick to be the Cowboys head coach. And I'll tell you why I want him and why I think Dan Quinn is being as successful as he is right now with Washington. And I'll show you. I'll kind of explain a little bit more after you watch this. So I want you to see, and let me know what you think.
yep. As well, there, Caesar. Can you see our viewer count there? Can you check?
Yeah, yeah. It says two.
Does it show any names or anything?
Let's see
I'm
here.
not signed in here.
Let's see.
The chat's live there. I can see.
Okay.
People just
Uh,
have to click on sign in.
yep.
If you want to write something there, I'll be able to see it. Oh, if you're able to be signed in.
You can go ahead and sign. Type. Can you type something in there?
I'm using my other device. So I don't know if I have my login there.
Yeah, there we go. I see you
Oh,
typing. There we
I
go.
know I
Cool.
see someone in there right now. Is that our moderator?
I think
Look who it
so.
is. Is that
Ryan,
Canadian Ryan?
what's up,
That's
bro?
I didn't know. We're not having Dolphins chat here.
For real,
What?
we're doing a little bit Cowboys chat here. So I'm Kirby and I are a little bit sick. So as you can tell.
We're doing our little. This is our second test run. We're gonna get some stuff going on the screen here. This is big time operations here, Ryan.
um, uh, Ryan, what did you think of the game? What is your biggest takeaway today in today's game? You know, you can definitely write some questions if you want to ask us. So Ryan, if you can just bear with us, we're gonna sit. I want to show Kirby this, and
Yep.
this is one of the biggest reasons why I want to um
Well,
Aaron Glenn as our
there he
head
is with the
coach.
night propaganda, but it's good propaganda.
Yeah, very good. So this is let's take a look here.
Oh, you got some video to show me? A tweet?
Yeah. So we're gonna
We're all
watch.
on the fly here. We're
Yeah.
trying this out. Thank you, Ryan. We're learning different steps. I got to get to the lab and watch some videos here as well.
All right.
Oh, here we go.
Oh,
So you want me to really sell? Okay, here we go.
man, you have to be relatable, all right? The players have to be able to sit down and talk to you and have a conversation. Man, there are so many players I'll talk to this day. Say, man, I've never had a chance to just sit and talk with a coach. I've never had a chance to have interaction and confrontation with a coach. It's always like I got to shut up. And I said, no, man, tell me exactly what your issues are, right? And we could talk about it. Man, me and Tracy Walker, Tracy came to my house right before training camp. Me and Tracy was sitting there just knocking tape out. And one day he was just like, just quiet. And I was like, what's wrong? He said, Coach, I've never, ever had a chance to go to a coach's house. You know, your wife over there cooking dinner, your daughter's running around, all right? And I'm sitting here watching tape. Man, I just, like, that just don't happen. And I was shocked, like, why?
Right.
Why can't it happen? Because you know what? As a player, man, I would love to sit down with my coach and sit there and pick his brain and watch. And so, man, that's what I want to offer to all my players, right? Dude, this is coaches over here and players over. That's not what we are, man. We right here, right? Because my job is to help you get better. That's my only job. All right, my job is to create a winning environment for you, get you paid, right? Because everybody wins, right? The organization wins and you win if all those things happen. So yeah, I'm gonna sit here and spend as much time as I can with you because that's my pleasure anyway. To sit here and watch tape with you and get you better.
What do you think about that, Kirby?
Yeah, so personal story with me there. I think you really have to learn to lose before you win. And my coaching experience that was with my young players, and part of that progress is an evolution of those players and that team. You bring those guys over to your house for dinners. I was assistant coach at the time. Everyone meet up at the head coach's house. You go over there, team bonding, stuff like that. And that leads to championship pedigree over time. What happened? We ended up winning the championship, one of the best teams in Western Canada. Sounds easy. But over time, you have to do that. Hey, guys, we're going to a basketball game tonight. Hey, guys, we're coming over for a holiday dinner. Hey, guys, off-season training. Let's go over, have a meal together. So they talk about that at the NFL level. I'm talking about at the grassroots level. Like, those things are important. And I saw a video earlier today on Spit and Chicklets. I don't know if you're able to pull it up, but Ryan Whitney was talking about some rooms just seem to be tighter in the NHL than other ones. Look at the Florida Panthers, for example. Seems like all those guys love each other, he said. And, then they talked to Keith Yandel, former Panther that wasn't on the Stanley Cup team, but he knew of those guys that won the Stanley Cup. And he could kind of speak on that. And he was talking about at the end of his career about guys not being focused on, common goal and on their phones and worry about what things are being said on social media and that type of stuff. And there's a lot of noise with the Cowboys. Do I like that Parsons is doing a podcast? Sure. I'm a podcaster. I don't mind that. But how much noise is around this Cowboys team right now? And they have to bring in a leader to kind of channel all that, come in there and change the culture of the room. If they're going to make tough decisions, they got to make tough decisions.
Here's the situation I have with people are always like Jerry's World. People are always going to the practice facility and always doing the tours and stuff like that. The Cowboys are not the only team that are doing tours. Miami Dolphins do it. Tampa Bay Buccaneers do it. There's teams all around the league that do tours all the time. It's just the NFL brand. It's what they do. And I think just because the Cowboys are so big and the brand is so big, everybody talks about them. So whatever little things we do, it's 3 or 4 times more than what it really is.
Yep.
Like you said, Michael Parsons doing a podcast. Big whoop. Look at Travis Kelce and his brother. They do a podcast every week.
Yeah,
They won a Super Bowl, right?
Trying to go for a three-peat here, right? We got stuff going on here in the chat. Ryan says it's 3:40 a.m. Steve's no sleep for you.
No, I actually work. I'm a night owl.
Look at this clown comment here from Ryan. My boy Gibbs 2 tutties though. Yeah, Ryan, but the fantasy football league is over. You didn't win the league. You pretty much guaranteed you were winning the fantasy league.
I was going to say Terry McLaurin killed it for me, so thanks for that trade. But no, going back to the Aaron Glenn.
Yeah, and there's a Dion question there in the chat too after. But go ahead.
Yeah. And great question there. He's actually one of my choices, by the way, Dion. Aaron Glenn is what Aaron Glenn was talking about there is relating to the players, having a good relationship with the players, not being so separated from the team. And I think Andy Reid does a really good job of doing that with his team. The team always just the way his relationship is, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and everybody else. But Dan Quinn, I'm gonna give you a little story here. 2 years ago, Jordan Lewis broke his leg against the Lions on an interception. Gruesome ankle injury. I think he broke it in 2 places. His rehab was so intense. He didn't know if he was going to come back from that injury. Who showed up at his doorstep that offseason? Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn came every single week, texted him every single day saying, "Hey, bud, how you doing? How's the rehab? Anything I can do? You want me to come over? We watch some film, things like that. The little things. He was the only coach, and Jordan Lewis even said, if it wasn't for Dan Quinn, I don't know I'd be playing football right now. And you can look at it, what he did with Commanders. You could tell it's really
Yep.
important for the for coaches to get involved with the team, be a cohesiveness. And you coach basketball, so you know what it's how important that is.
Yep. You got your like first unit in basketball and you got your second unit, but you got to be able to have those guys ready and have them have importance to the team. And some of those depth guys, I would even say this at the professional level. They might not know where their place is on the team, if they can speak up. They might not be feeling as comfortable in their standing with the organization. Just simple little team bonding things or get together at houses. It brings players together. The college basketball team that I follow, they recruit internationally. A lot of these guys can't go home for holidays like Christmas and Thanksgiving. Some of them don't celebrate Thanksgiving or different things like that. They come over to the coaching staff's house and they bring them in. And it's like a second family to them. They're so far away from home, thousands and thousands and thousands of miles away from home. And just things like that matter, and it brings camaraderie together and teams together. Doesn't mean because you do it, it guarantees victory, but that start to build culture and things like that. And you wonder, like Mike McCarthy, is he a leader of men? Is he a situational coach? Yeah, he can get you to 8, 9, 10 wins because of his football acumen and history, but you know, can you win in certain situations? Are you doing certain things away from the facility that's going to make that difference at the end of the day and things like that? Um, as much as everyone wants to get into analytics and get away from like hard coaching and coaches, at the end of the day, it still comes down to like human relationships, right? Like
Yeah,
Ryan, little things matter.
yeah, and it's not just the little things, but having the right coaching staff around you, having the right personnel around you, the trainers and all that, the hard work that they do. Um, and you can't say Jerry doesn't want to win, because I honestly do think he does want to win. He's built such a $1 billion facility over there. He's got one of the best training staff in the league. Um, Britt Brown is their rehabilitation guy, one of the best to ever do it in the league. So it's not that he's not paying money to get that Super Bowl or wanting to get that Super Bowl. I honestly think Stephen Jones is holding this team back, and here's the reason why. Stephen Jones, for the longest time, has been in charge of the salary cap. Why do the Cowboys not want to spend? Because of the salary cap. Every single year, they say that's the same excuse every single year.
But the other teams aren't using that excuse.
No. And Stephen Jones always has that same excuse. I think if Stephen Jones didn't hold his dad back so much, I think Jerry Jones would spend the money. I think Stephen is preventing him from doing a lot of things.
But wasn't Steven the one that fixed their draft issue and said start drafting offensive linemen? And that was a change in the.
That was more Will McClay. Will McClay is more of the
I thought that
general.
kind of tied together with Steven, though. Hey,
Some
Jerry, sit this one out. You're not making our first and
Yes,
second
so yeah,
draft.
Jerry didn't want to draft offensive linemen, and
You wanted
that's
Johnny Manziel, right?
that was he even admitted that was one of his biggest mistakes when Roma was the quarterback.
Oh, I
So
didn't hear the post interviews on that. I know you pay attention to the content and
yeah,
coverage better than me, but yeah.
but
If
yeah,
him and his faults, then hey, maybe there's room for Dion or
and I'm
potential.
not trying to sit there and defend Jerry Jones at all, because he is definitely part of the issue too.
Okay.
With the microcosm of what's going on in Dallas and
Short of
Frisco.
him winning a Super Bowl or getting through a conference championship, that's going to be the legacy for the last 10, 15, 20 years of his life, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, Ryan did ask a good question: is do we think Dion can fix this team? Honestly, I don't see why not. Every time Dion has gone to a program, he's changed the culture. He's he's a leader of men. He gets people to respect you. Shadur Sanders, though he's not the most athletic quarterback, He's very smart. He studies. He's a very good film studier. He does training with Tom Brady, so you can tell that he really wants to win. Um, I think Cam Ward is going to be a better quarterback in my view, in my mind. I think he's more athletic and he's got a better arm strength, better accuracy. But don't fall asleep on Shedeur Sanders. I know a lot of people think just because he's Dion's son, they're putting him on top, but I actually think he's going to work hard to get to where he wants to be.
It's
So,
nice for Ryan joining us here tonight because we can try all this
yeah,
stuff. So
yeah. Thanks,
really,
Ryan. So
I'm
this
kind
is
of
just,
clicking around on my mobile and I'm able to do this.
yeah, this is our first test
Well,
run. So
You're
far
you're
so
kind
good.
of co-producing. I'm co-producing here. It's going pretty smooth.
So but yeah,
If we had 10 Ryans in here, it'd be pretty crazy. But we love you, Ryan.
And yeah, what a masterclass by Knight, by the way, too. That was a
Yeah,
great game.
he's like, where's the Dolphins talk? Where's the Panthers talk? But yeah, the header, I guess, was Cowboys. Caesar was the executive producer on this one here tonight. So,
Yeah,
but I'm not in full football mode right now, Caesar. I'm trying to pay attention to the coaching hour, but we're right in the thick of things here with hockey. Four Nations coming up, NHL trade deadline here.
yeah.
Getting set up with the community on that. I know you're going to be a big part of the Four Nations stuff, so you're going to be leading some of that
Yeah.
stuff. It's going to look
So
a lot like this here. I'd say.
yeah. So Ryan, if you want to join us too on the Four Nations, we're gonna try to do a live stream during the Finland USA game. So, if you would, we would definitely love to have you on here. Get get
He's going to the tournament, Caesar, in Montreal.
oh, that'd be that's
He's going
so
to
awesome.
Canada USA game and the Sweden Finland game. So it depends if he'd be around or if he's following us from Montreal from his hotel room. Might have to add him into the studio and come on and speak or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Either before I'd have to look at the schedule. Ryan, you have to help us out here. Before our stream, or it would be after our stream. I'm not sure the schedule there of
Yeah,
when the USA.
when does Finland play USA again? I think it's
I have
like
to
the
pull it
second
up.
game, right?
Okay. Ryan's got Canada USA. That's on the Saturday, Hockey Night Canada. So what day is that Finland USA game on? Caesar, what do you got in front of you? Middle of the week?
Let's see. I'm pulling up the schedule now.
Before he leaves?
Thursday, February 13th.
Oh, 13th. Oh, he might be traveling there. I think his game is on Valentine's Day or the 15th there, Ryan. Oh, he said he's going to have to add it to CarPlay there. So we might not be able to get him in, but maybe we have him in the chat or something like that. Yeah, we'll live stream that game. We're going to do some pregame on the Twitter X Spaces side. We'll do some game stuff, maybe post-game for gold medal. I don't know if I'm going to live stream the gold medal. I told you, Caesar. I got to watch that, but we can maybe come on after and go live after, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. Get a live reaction from everybody.
Yeah. And again, there'll be a Panther on either team, and there'll be a Panther winning the championship. Fingers crossed, guy doesn't get injured or something like that. But Panther on every Four Nations team, and there'll be a Panther versus Panther in the championship game, or Panthers versus Panthers in the championship game. So that's something I think we should come on just for our community alone, Caesar. And a lot of NHL hockey fans will want to break down that championship game too.
So, yeah, for sure.
Keep a little focus on the Panthers, but also, and then Cody might join us as well for that. So we'll get track of Cody here. He hasn't been feeling good this past week, but if he wants to join us for the pregame, post game, or even the live stream.
Oh, for sure.
Yep.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit. We just
Yep.
And enough about football. Let's talk about the Panthers today.
Okay. I just want to ask some technical things here. So Ryan's got a little screwdriver thing next to him. Is he a moderator? Is he modded up?
No,
what
I
did
don't
they say
think
on
so.
your end there?
Those are the.
That's not like a moderator icon there, because it's on each one of his posts there.
That's a good question.
We need some YouTubers to come by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never seen that little.
Our viewer count's going up.
It looks
here.
like a ratchet. Yeah.
Here now.
So yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the game today. What did you think of the defense overall today?
Not bad. I think this was one of our best games for zone denial. I think one of the best games, like with Forsling and some of like your lesser like defensemen. I looked on the charts after the game for what that says.
Now we were
Dornspot was our
playing.
best guy on the
I was
charts.
going to say we were playing the Ducks, so
That's the
that,
part I want to add. That's the caveat to this. It is the Ducks, and it seemed like their game really died off in the third. They couldn't get pucks in, turning it over in the neutral zone. When they did get the puck, we were like standing them up at the blue line. So good sign for us. But earlier in the game, we were giving up like a breakaway to Frankie Vetrano, some odd man rushes, and then Ryan's boy Knight coming in big there with some saves. As Goldie said, 4 saves. I don't know if there was 4 saves on that one, but there was at least 2 or 3. And then
there
after
was there
that,
was definitely 3, and they could have been a fourth one,
okay.
or
We were at
maybe
the rink. Did they credit 4 there?
yeah. They I think they did credit 4.
Oh, they did, because he called it on the spot there.
Yeah.
But that was kind of concerning where we were a little leaky there. It was more in transition, but we weren't running around in our own zone. We weren't turning pucks over. And again, how good are the Ducks at forechecking and causing puck pressure? This is a Ducks team that has one of the best records in the NHL when they score 3 or more goals. They're up there with LA. But what it tells me today, them getting shut out, they don't score a lot of goals and they don't win a lot of games. So yeah,
but
they
they
might
did
score
have a
3
lot of
more, but
shots on goal too. So
yeah, and they did too. Like if you look at that New Jersey game, and I know Ryan talked about this a lot, give credit to Spencer Knight in that game. Yes, but I don't think Spencer Knight got really busy until about the 10, 11-minute mark of the third period. I could even say it was 6, 7 minutes left in the game is when he had to make his best saves. And that's when you want your goalie to make their best saves, when the game's on the line and then
yeah,
into overtime. But this game, the Ducks more challenged Knight and the Panthers in the first and second. And then the third, I don't think they got to double-digit shots where they did in the first and second. And probably like their shot attempts were down as well. They just couldn't get any zone time, even though the Panthers were controlling them there. But if you look at the stats, Caesar, through 40 minutes, the rush chances and the high danger chances heavily favored the Ducks.
yeah, and I thought the first period they came out really flat. The Ducks definitely controlled the tempo, even though the shots were pretty even at the end of the first. Um, the second period, the Panthers started playing more of their game. You saw them finishing more of their checks, neutralizing the blue zone, the blue line. Um, I thought Lindell's game was absolutely really, really good today. Talk about how about why you like Lindell and maybe putting him or his line on the second line, because I think we talked a little bit about that in spaces, right?
Yeah, the Cats and Rats community is going to be sick of hearing this from me on the podcast with our boy Banksy and Armando Velez from the Locked On Network. That was our latest podcast episode. And of course, when we go post game, again, I didn't plan me to be a Lundell supporter coming this season or a Lundell. I wouldn't even say Lundell stan. That would be going a little too far. But just the things that he's done when these other players around him in the top 6 have struggled. His work on the PK has been exceptional over the last couple of weeks, and I think as a coaching staff, when they see that, he should get bumped up and elevated to line. When you got a guy like Sam Bennett hasn't scored in 20 games, guy Carter Verhaeghe that's only scored a few in the last 20 games, that he struggled. His game seems to be coming around more, but why is it coming around? He's playing with Anton Lundell, and they
Yeah,
call it the third line. Uh, to me, they're playing like a first line right now, but they're more like a second line. When you've got Boquist there with Verhaeghe and Lundell, that's a good enough second line team. And when you have Verhaeghe playing down at the third line, I don't think that's going to last. But Lundell, his just puck pursuit, his puck pressure, his second, third efforts. He's a guy out there that looks like he's trying, that looks like he's competing, that looks like he's working hard. And he's really playing the Panthers system when you're wondering, what are other guys doing out there? And I think a lot of that we've talked about ad nauseum this year. Our back end needs help. It needs support. We need to add to guys there. A guy like Adam Boquist, again, healthy scratch. But it starts to seep into the forward play with their lazy play through the neutral zone, turnovers in their own zone. Even a guy like Barkov right now hasn't been playing the best right now. And I loved when Randy said in the broadcast, I know you were at the game, Caesar, but he said,
yeah.
I think Anton Lundell over the last 3, 4, 5 games here has been our most consistent player. I would go back even further than that. I'd go into like 3, 4 week territory. Jesper Boquist is starting to play like that consistency to his game as well.
Boquist is the most goals he scored in his career, right?
I
In the
think
season?
so. And someone said today, maybe on our post game spaces, does he have more goals than Verhaeghe right now? I could be wrong on that, but
I think Verhaeghe's still stuck on 9, 9 or 10.
Okay, did Boquist just pass him today?
I believe so.
Okay, so that's a crazy stat. And then you're getting into Bennett territory, like I just mentioned his name, not to beat a dead horse, but hasn't scored in like 20 plus games now. That's concerning since he been named to Team Canada for the Four Nations. Maybe John Cooper's like, he ain't going to get in the lineup. He might be the 13th forward here.
Mhm.
So I don't know, you know. But I think I'm just been a big proponent of Lundell, move him up the lineup, have him playing second line, have him playing with better talent. They're kind of doing that with Boquist and Verhaeghe down there in the third line. But then you even got weird lineup like Erod's on the fourth line, and then Reinhart gets thrown out of the game, and then Erod bounces up to the first. I said to people at the beginning of the year, Erod's going to play first, second, third, fourth line. They're like, Kirby, fourth line? And I'm like, well, maybe not on this team because there's not as much depth, but yeah, he's going to get moved around the lineup. And even with this lineup that we're kind of devoid of depth, Erod's down there on the fourth line. So maybe that's a little bit of a good sign that you can trust Jesper Boquist and certain guys to bounce up the lineup. But again, I don't love our depth when our 13th, 14th forward is Gadjevich. He's injured, banged up right now. There's not a lot of trust there. Maurice is just running with those 12 guys. So they all got to be playing well. And when they're not, that's, I think, when our depth and our forward ranks gets a little exposed. And what do I want at the deadline? Probably two defensemen, but also know there could be a hole on the wing. And you get an injury there, Caesar. I don't think the coaching staff has a lot of trust with these forwards right now and calling guys up from Charlotte. We haven't been seeing the William Lockwoods of the world. Different guys that have come in and out of the lineup. They've had Asplin up a little bit this year, but not a ton. And then last year we even had those call-ups, and we had guys like Stenlin and Lawrence that are really, really good. By the way, Lawrence scored another goal tonight for Toronto. So did OEL.
Wow. Didn't
But
Lawrence go on the first line? Didn't they play him on the
yeah,
first line?
he played there for 7, 8, 9 minutes. I didn't watch that game, but they said it didn't work out, and then they dropped him down lower down the lineup. So maybe they just tried it for a quick experiment. But still, he comes back tonight, plays wherever he is on the third, fourth line, I'm guessing, and he's pots a goal. So, yeah, like
Look
where
at these
why couldn't we
numbers
use
here.
that guy? You know, yep.
I mean,
You want to make? Can you blow that up a little bit there, Caesar? Or no?
I think this is as far as I got. Can you not
Those?
see it?
Yeah, I can see it a little bit, but I just wanted to know for production's sake if you can. But it's fine.
Yeah, this is as far as I got it.
Yeah. So.
Is
Well,
that
there we
good?
go. Yep, looks good. I don't know how to move that comment around. Can you move Ryan's comment around? I'm just curious. We can like switch it to the right.
We'll put the comments after. But
And
yeah, look at Boquist has done really good job this year. 44 games played, 11 goals, 4 assists. For
8
being,
assists.
uh, what is it?
8 assists there.
Yeah, 8 assists. So, he's a -1 though. But I really don't pay attention much.
That's not a big deal when it's
Yeah,
around.
yeah. But he's been. I would say he's probably the best addition we've had this offseason.
Hmm?
Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, I'm thinking through all the names, most of them on the defensive end. AJ Greer, there's some consideration there, but again, fourth line guy. I wouldn't say his plays dropped off, but when you're taking all these penalties, you're not going to have your fourth line out there. So a guy like Jesper Boquist that can be out there for some penalty kill, which we've seen. I think he's been out there on power play too a little bit. Again, this is a guy that you can depend on up and down the lineup. I don't love him on a second line, but if you got a third line right now with the likes of Verhaeghe, Lundell, I can understand how that line works. It's just interesting if they drop Boquist down the lineup and he has to play with, Gadjevich of the world and Greer's of the world or Nosek like as his centerman, how much that's going to create for him offensively because he likes playing up the lineup. And they got a guy like Mackey today here playing up with Bennett. So those are two guys that played on the fourth line that are playing now on your second and third line. So what do you do with that fourth line? That's why they had Erod down there. So that's a
Right.
tough decision to kind of make there, especially when these guys hopefully start to round into form together. And then that's where the Panther depth comes out, and that's where they're going to start overwhelming teams. It ain't going to come from our back end. And I do like our goaltending this year, and what Knight just has been doing here has been exceptional. But you're not going to always get those goalie wins either. So it has to come from the forwards. That's where they're paying all the money. That's where they're investing on this team. I know Bob's getting 10 million, but it's not coming from the blue line. Yeah, you're seeing Forsling score some empty netters, great, but we're not creating a ton of offense there and a lot of drive coming from there. So it's got to come from the forwards.
No, I agree, and I think there there's been a slump with these players, but I was listening. A good friend of mine was telling me he was listening on the radio to a good podcast, and he was saying that they were talking about how championship teams that have won back-to-back game championships, this is the time of year where they have that slump. So this is even though I know we definitely get into them because we definitely want to see them improve. We want to see a better game
Yep.
by our Panthers, but
To me, it's not all about wins and losses. It's about the process and like how they're looking through this.
right,
It's not if they lose, of course they're going to lose games. It's how you're losing these games or what
right,
games you're giving away and stuff like that. The
and
penalty.
and
Yep.
that's why I was kind of saying too before. Let's wait to see how we look in March, February, March, to determine how we're going to maybe play in the playoffs. If we still look the way we've been looking this December run, November run, then I'd have some concern. But I'm not ready to jump off the bridge just yet. I think
No, no. I
so.
get that too. It's just win one, lose one. I'm fine with that. It's the consistency, right? And I'm not even a guy. Let's go on a 4 game winning streak or win 4 to 5. No, I'm fine with however it looks. If we're getting into form and things like that, we're looking a little better in Panthers hockey here of late. But we still got ways to go with these undisciplined penalties, and just looking clean in all 3 zones. I think that's coming around a little bit, but we'll see, right? Before we go, Caesar, anything else here?
Nope. It'll be interesting to see what happens. On the West Coast, we do play Anaheim again, or and then we play San Jose, right?
Yeah, LA, House of Horrors. I think LA and Calgary are quickly becoming our 2 toughest destinations. My co host Lex also mentioned Vancouver, so that's just great. Cody goes to the games in Vancouver. I go to the games in Calgary, and Lex goes to the games in LA. So you guys can thank us for those, I guess. And then Vegas, which it has been, not a great place to go in the past to try to grab a win, but the Panthers were able to get 2 from Vegas last year.
Yeah.
And I think they got, what did we play them this year? Or am I
Uh,
misremembering here? And we won.
Later on in the year, I believe we do play them again. There.
Oh, we didn't
It'll
play them
be.
this year at home. I thought we might have, anyways.
I think we did. We won at home against them
Yeah.
this year.
So I think we might be on a 3 game, if I'm not mistaken, regular season winning streak on them. So let's see if we can get another win against Vegas here in their barn. But if we go 2-2 on this trip, I'm fine, or 2-1-1. That would
Yeah.
be great as well. So, but I
No,
guess
for
we'll
sure.
leave it there. We have some content coming this week, some podcasts and things like that. So,
Yep. So stay tuned, everybody. Thanks for being patient with us, and let's go Cats and let's go Cowboys.
all right.